All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Hi.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey.
Happy Monday. Welcome, EduMatch author Alexis Terry with a new book that is coming out this Thursday. Woo!
Real love. I'm searching for real
the real
love.
love.
Awesome.
Oh, is that how you got inspired by it or to write your book?
Yes. So just kind of giving you guys some inspiration about real love. So I was raised by my grandmother and my uncle. And my uncle loved Mary J. Blige. Oh, he loved Mary J. Blige. And so he passed back in 2018 from stage 4 lung cancer. And so one
Your
of the
Uncle
biggest
Ben?
questions, yeah, my Uncle Benny. Yes, my Uncle Benny. So one of the questions that I always get, like it never fails, is when I share with people my story, they're always like, so how did you get here? Like, how are you at this point in life? And so, yes, Mary J. Blige is the truth. And so I've always had this thing where I wanted to tell my story. I feel like God takes us through certain experiences in life, like so that we come out with a testimony. And that testimony is not necessarily for us, but for other people. And so one of the things that I always battle with as a teacher was in my classroom, which I talk about this in the book, that I never really shared my testimony until like at a midpoint in my career when I felt like, dang it, my students really need this and they're missing out on something powerful because I'm holding it on the inside. So
Wow.
When my Uncle Benny passed, I just kept waking up at like 3:00 in the morning with this song, Real Love, in my head. And it just kept going on and on and on. And so I'm like, okay, God, you must want me to do something with this song. Tell me what. And so, like, the next time that I woke up with the song in my head, I was like, okay, you know what? I got a pen and a paper. And I just started writing out what real love could stand for and what it looks like in education and in our classrooms. And so real love stands for, the R stands for relationships rooted in respect. The E is for engaging students in a culturally relevant and realistic manner. The A is for being authentic in our classrooms and in our interactions with our students. The L stands for creating a learning environment that meets the needs of all of our students. Then the second L is for loyalty, just being loyal to our students and letting our students know that we have their backs no matter what. The O is overcoming obstacles. And so how are we as educators supporting our students and overcoming the obstacles that they face? The V is for visioneering. And so some, like me, and which I talk about in the book, I could not see past my current circumstances. Like, it was really hard for me to see what the future, what's up. And so the V stands for visioneering and helping our students vision their futures. And then the E is educating our students for a future that they cannot currently see. And so the inspiration behind writing Real Love, it was just me having to just feeling like I was being called to share my story and eventually get it out of the classroom and out to the world. And so, yeah, that's where Real Love came from. Thank you.
Show that beautiful cover once again.
Oh my God, this is the cover.
There you go.
There you go. So the cover is actually designed by one of my students. His name, hello.
Hi, Mandy. Mandy decided to drop in.
Hey, Mandy. So DeAnthony,
congratulations.
Robinson, thank you so much. He was one of my students last year, and he is getting ready to go to the University of Texas at Arlington to do animation. And so last year when I was in the classroom, I was like, I want you to design the book cover. I don't know what that looks like. And so we played around with different designs, and the original design is totally different from this. And so maybe about 3 or 4 months ago, probably maybe 3 months ago, I told him one day, I was like, hey, I want you on the cover. You know, like, give me one of those pictures of you, because I think that when we talk about real love and seeing past the surface level stuff that our students show us and really digging deep, he is the epitome of that relationship that teachers should have with all students, where we're not just, because he has so much potential. He's so creative, you guys cannot tell. And so I told him, I said, I want you on the cover, but I also, mainly when educators see students of color, they struggle to see past the surface level stuff. They let their individual biases, their limited cultural competency about Black communities hinder them from really providing their students with an equitable education when it's culturally relevant and responsive, because they only see the surface level stuff. And so, I told him, put on the cover everything that people would look at you and think you can't do. And that's what he came up with. And so this is the inspiration behind Real Love. And like I said, DeAnthony just graduated from Lakeview Centennial High School, and he is going off to the University of Texas at Arlington to major in graphic design or animations. And so Dreamers Inc. Yeah, he is dope. He is really dope. And
well, congratulations to DeAnthony. That is awesome. So cool.
And, that's amazing.
Alexis, really quick, I want to share some of the things that people are saying. Andrea Cook says, great acronym, which I totally agree. Linnell says she loves it. Erin says she loves the cover. Alice Aspinall says, beautiful cover. Love that there's math in there. and right. Yes, Alice. And so lots of people are watching today. So great. And Alexis, can you move your head just a little bit like you get off screen? Like the up. There you go. Beautiful. Perfect. Beautiful. And I kind of put Mandy in here. It was just like, I wasn't sure when to put it in, but hey, Mandy, how's it going? Can you hear us?
It's super windy out here, so I apologize. Can you hear it?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Hear it, but I'm so sorry. I wanted to pop in though and say congratulations, because I am so unbelievably excited about this book. And
thank you.
I think I've loved the idea and everything that you have stood for in this book since the very first time that we chatted about it. And so I'm so incredibly excited. And the cover was just icing on the cake. Like the cover is, I'm pretty partial to my own book covers, and I'm like, that might be the coolest EduMatch cover right there. Like that is a kick butt cover. I love it. So
thank you.
I'm so happy for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
And so
now what are you going to do now that your book is published? You can't go to Disney. Oh, can you go to Disney yet? I don't think you can go to Disney. Like, what's the next thing you're going to do?
You know what? I'm so looking forward to next week. I am trying to drop in on Great Wolf Lodge if I can. I don't know. But I don't want to go anywhere where I have to wear a mask. So I'm always hesitant. So I think now I'm definitely gonna give me some hibachi. I love hibachi. And my favorite hibachi spot, they do like this drive-in or pickup. So we'll probably grab some hibachi and just be able to chill with the kids and just hang out and get a night's worth of rest without actually, no, I don't sleep, I'm lying. But without actually having to worry about, what's next with the book? I got to do this. But that's not going to happen until like Friday or something, at least once the book is like officially out. But yeah. Right. Sure. And then I'll go to Disneyland and celebrate.
And the official date is Thursday when it comes out. So we are going to be doing some celebrations all week long. You have things going on Twitter. You have contests going on Twitter in a couple of days. Yes?
Yes, definitely. And I am about to drop into the live comments the link to the book. The book link is, I don't see where I can drop it into the live comments.
It's okay. Just hit, you see where it says comments? And let me read to you what some people are saying, okay?
Okay.
So Brian Romero-Smith says, congrats. Andrea Cook says, that's hot. Great cover. Love the reasoning behind it. Aaron Kiger says, congratulations to DeAnthony. And Nicole Taylor says, congrats. And so
thank you.
Yeah, so many people are watching. This is so cool. And are you still eating lunch? Like, I know this is our
am. Captain D's, for all my Texas people, Captain D's was my lunch today, and a nice big glass of water. What are you guys eating for lunch? What did you have?
I just finished breakfast because I'm behind everybody, but I'm drinking my coffee right now. How about you, Mandy?
I'm on a diet, so I had strawberries and coffee, and I did actually have a glass of water too. But
hey, what about our listeners?
I had water also. Yes,
we need water. My viewers, what are you guys eating?
What are you all eating
today?
Yeah, tell us.
Since this is a lunch and love. This is a lunch and love.
And so, Alexis, while everybody is going to share with us what they're eating, and you can drop pictures too, everybody. We love pictures.
Yeah.
Tell us what does real love look like in classrooms and schools, or what does it look like for you?
Okay, so for me, I think the first thing that we have to do, and it's important to talk about, is building relationships with students rooted in respect for their cultures and their communities. And the only way that that can come is by first us doing our own self-examination, examining our positionalities, examining our intersectionalities, and how our personal identities and elements of our identities influence what we do in the classroom. The second thing, then we have to look at our own biases, and how, mainly in regards to students of color, students with different abilities, how that then in itself affects the relationships that we attempt to build. Once we build those relationships, then it's about creating culturally responsive and equity-based environments in our classrooms, in our schools, to make sure that we're speaking to the emotional, the social, the cultural, the ability, all those different needs that diverse students come into our schools and classrooms with. We are creating an environment that meets those needs, or speaking to those needs. And so we're being culturally relevant and we're being culturally responsive. We're also understanding their reality and then bringing that reality into our classroom and our instruction. When I say understanding, there's a difference between making an assumption and then understanding it. So when you're seeking to understand somebody's reality, you are really getting to know your students. You're really getting to know the families that they come from, the communities that they come from, so that way, some of those assumptions will be combated. When I think about me growing up in South Central LA, and I share my story in the book, but my mom was on drugs. My mom was on drugs all the way up until I'm 34 now. Yeah, I'm 34. But she was on drugs up until, so she's probably been clean for about 7 years now. And so throughout my childhood, and my mom been on drugs and my dad was on drugs at a point in his life, and both of them incarcerated. And so me being raised by my grandmother and my uncle, I took all of this stuff to school with me. All of that trauma that was on the inside of me, I took it to school. I lashed out. People saw me, and they usually saw my last name because my brother, I have an older brother. My older brother is actually, and this is so crazy, he's getting out of prison on Thursday. So the same day that this book comes out, where I'm talking about his experiences and how I feel like educators failed him and pushed him down that pipeline to prison, he's getting out of prison on Thursday. So, but
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, that's really crazy. So
that is crazy.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because remember, the book was supposed to come out back in May, and so even for this to just be postponed it, but. So I had all of these things going on, and people looked at me and was really like I got an opportunity to talk to my preschool teacher, and she was like, I hated when you guys came to school, because you were like little zombies. You didn't want to learn. It was a distraction because you guys were always dirty. Your mom always, and this is before we were living with my grandmother, but your mom always sent you to school dirty. You guys were hungry. The kids picked on you, and I didn't want to be around you and your brother. And so educators.
Wait, stop. Oh, your preschool teacher told you that?
Yeah, I talked to her this back in maybe February. She told. Now here's the deal. The fact
that she still remembers you after all, I know you're still young, 34 is still very young, but she still remembers you guys. Like,
she still remembers me because my younger brothers on my dad's side ended up all going to that school. So it wasn't, she really did not make the connection until she saw one brother that looked like my older brother. And she's like, oh my God, you guys look like, but the reason why it stuck with her is because she ended up, my mom ended up trying to give us up for adoption to her. And she was a new teacher, fresh out of college, fresh out of the suburbs, and she came into inner city LA. And so we were her first encounters with babies who were born, I was born with drugs in my system, neonatal abstinence syndrome. I'm what they call a crack baby. And like I said, I tell everybody that. But I was her first actual encounter with a crack baby, you know, and so it was a lot for her as a new teacher. And so she had the experience to meet my brothers and my brothers. And that's when she made the connection that, oh my God, you guys are related to them. And I remember their mom back in the day, you know, used to send them to school with X, Y, and Z. And so just kind of getting back to the point, educators, they see those things and they kind of shut students out. Or they see students who pose a challenge and they shut students out. They see students who share different beliefs or share different identities and they shut those students out. And what Real Love is calling is for us to really connect with those students, tap in, build solid relationships, meet their cultural needs, meet their linguistic needs, meet their social emotional needs, and help them see beyond what their current situation is.
Wow. Girl, take a breath.
You know, that is, yeah. You know, what I was thinking about, I had so many thoughts as you were saying all of that, and just oh my gosh. But you know, when you referred back to when you said like she was fresh out of college, was the first time she dealt with a crack baby. It makes me think of all the things that the general public has no idea about, and how, as far as the way teachers operate, and how we're never prepared to deal with some of the situations that come into our classrooms. Like we are never talked about, like it's never talked, that kind of stuff isn't talked about. And we're not prepared as teachers for that, I feel like.
Exactly.
And no, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. So I was saying that, you know, that was one of the things that I call for in Real Love, is because, you know, she really got to know our story once my grandmother started coming, or my uncle started, or she actually, you know, encountered my mom. And that's what made her change her heart towards me and my brother, to where it was like she started being more exercising more empathy for us, you know. And what I call for educators to do in Real Love is really get to know your students, really have those conversations. I saw one person in the comments say, do you think it's okay to ask questions when you don't understand? Mm-hmm. That's what, yes, because that's where you get to see somebody's experience and hear those experiences. Now, you don't want to ask questions that are, oh, what are you? You know, but if your questions are authentic and you're seeking and striving to build genuine relationships with your students, then yes, I think that especially when we look at the now and what's happening, it's going to have to start with us educators building those bridges and mending that cultural divide. And that is going to come from us being comfortably uncomfortable, you know? And so sometimes those questions that may be uncomfortable to you may be the question that is needed to bring somebody in and really, really give you the leverage that you need to really start supporting that student.
Yeah, and can I just read to you some of the comments that are being said?
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, Michael Cohen is on his third round of coffee. BLT. She's having a BLT. Andrea's having a salad. And then and Kim said, like, she's doing a high 10. What do you do? The double high five. Linnell says this is so needed for professional learning this upcoming year. Yes.
Yeah.
Andrea says, wow. Elizabeth says it's kismet. And then Kim says, do you think, okay, and you just addressed that. Do you think it's okay to ask questions when you don't understand? And then she also says, Kim says, you are amazing for being able to overcome your trauma to be able to help others. You are a gift. And I definitely have to agree with her on that one. Yeah. And
thank you.
So, and I know you kind of covered it. So how is Real Love on time? And I love how it's kind of orchestrated, and you and I both share a lot of the similar faith beliefs. So we definitely feel like this is divine. You said your brother is coming out or is being freed from prison on Thursday, the date of its actual release. And then how else is Real Love right on time?
Man, so one of the biggest things that we're seeing from educators is, or in education, is educators having to come to terms with their biases, their racism, and their lack of cultural competency. And one of the things that that really hurts my heart is because I'm passionate about urban education and changing and transforming the experiences that students in inner city schools have. And a lot of these educators, not all of them, but it's a great majority of them who are grappling with their own biases. They're working in these inner city schools, you know. But I see hope because you have educators asking questions, wanting resources, wanting professional developments in order to be able to fully, okay, let me overcome my biases. Let me start dealing with those so that I can be effective in the classroom, you know? And so that self-reflection is key. And so Real Love is right on time because what I feel like a story can help educators understand the importance of building your cultural competency. And I talk about in the book how I had to deal with some of my own biases as well in regards to my students and how I was interacting with them, but not looking at that face value. And so in the book, I'm not only sharing my story. I think about the 3 Ps when I talk about Real Love. It's my personal experiences, my professional experiences, and then pedagogical practices to meet the diverse needs of students. So when we talk about creating those culturally relevant and culturally sustaining environments, I am using my experiences to tell you how to do this. With each chapter, I give you about 5 to 6 strategies that can be implemented to build those relationships with students, to create those culturally sustaining environments, to help your students. So it's about, I think, a lot of things that we're seeing happening in regards to the systemic oppression and the injustices that people of color face can be overcome if we start working together. But in order for us to work together as a nation, we have to break down those walls, be willing to do our own self-reflection. Like, it starts first with changing our mindset. A good friend of mine, Solandra, she's always talking about you have to do the work in changing your mindset. And so I talk about that in the book. How do we change our mindset? How do we build those relationships with those communities that we do not understand in order for us to move forward? Another thing that Real Love talks about is, and which is now, is I'm loving seeing the students who are getting out in their communities and they're leading these protests and they are serving as agents and activists. And so Real Love talked about we have a responsibility to help our students build their social and political consciousness and help them through our instruction get out in their classrooms, get out in their communities, give back to their communities. But like I said, it really starts with what we're doing in our classroom and through our instruction.
Gosh, you keep giving me goosebumps. It's crazy. It's like, it's crazy.
Hey,
so, well, before
Dave
you go on,
says in the comments, becoming a savior and having sympathy is not, no. Here's the one thing about doing this work. We are not Jesus, okay?
Right.
We are not Jesus. You know, there is work that needs to be done, but I think that if we start moving in the direction of building those relationships, I'll go back to that, building those relationships, checking ourselves, and using that information to propel our students in the future. It starts in our classrooms. You know, I think about all the educators who had the opportunity to dispel racist myths, dispel ideals in their classrooms, expose students to multicultural texts. And, you know, I talk about that in the chapter on being authentic. The number one way to create an authentic and learning environment is by promoting authentic voices. How many educators had the opportunity in their classrooms and in their schools to do this long ago and did not take that chance?
Right.
Did not. And so if we start in our classrooms, it's gonna spill out into communities.
Yes.
It's gonna spill out into our nation. It's gonna spill out into the world.
I agree. And I think that right now we're seeing a tide where more people are, and we're late to the game. Let's just be honest. Like, those of us who haven't, you know, gotten into the game, we are so late. We have so much to catch up. We have to do the work. And I really feel like if there's anything positive from this summer and the COVID and everything, it's just, we are together. Like, the resources are out there. You can't ignore it anymore. You shouldn't ignore it. And now we're seeing that more people don't want to ignore it. We have the tools to move forward. And we have largely ignored this. We've had the opportunity to largely ignore this. and to the detriment of our students, to the detriment of the teachers that we work with. But we have the opportunity right now to make a change, and that's why I absolutely love that this book is coming out right now. And because so many more people are joining us, will you please share what Real Love, the acronym, stands for again?
Oh, yeah, of course. So Real Love stands for relationships rooted in respect for students' culture and communities, engaging students in a culturally relevant and realistic manner, being authentic in our classrooms and our interactions with students, creating a learning environment that meets the needs of all students, showing our students loyalty, helping our students overcome obstacles, creating visions for our students that extend into the future, and educating our students for a future that some of them cannot see. And I think that's really that last part is just really when people ask me, how did you get to where you are today? When you share your story and you talk about your mom being on jail, if we look at right now, I am, so my other brother was in prison. He's getting ready to get out, but that has been his, I think my older brother started going to jail when he was about maybe 12. And like he was home more, or he was in jail more than he was at home, right? So being home was a vacation for him. And then my older sister, right around the time when I was maybe 15 or 16, that's when she kind of started getting into drugs herself and stripping. And then my younger brother, he was the one who I think really had it really tough. And so right now he's currently in prison. And I always joke because even though he's in prison, for somehow he's managing to get on Instagram Live, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I'm like, okay, I don't understand, but you know what, do you, boo? But
I'm sorry, I feel terrible for laughing.
I laugh at it too. But so I always get this question, like, okay, how is it that you're the only one in your family to graduate from high school, the only one to go off to college? And it's because of the educators who saw the potential that I had. So they got past that surface level stuff. And I talk in a book about Miss Hyde. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I know you guys saw that big AirPod fall out. But I talk about in the book Miss Hyde, and Miss Hyde was she was a teacher from UCLA. I remember that. And she came into the school, and I was going to school in a area outside of LA. I was using somebody else's address to go to a different high school. And so when I was going to this high school, because I just could not go to the same high school that my mom went to, and my dad went to, and my sister went to, and my brother went to, because I just needed something different. I needed to get out. At that time, when I was 15, my cousin Lamar got killed by a friend that we had all gone to, and we lived next door to each other, so we were very close. So my cousin Lamar had got killed. My best friend at that time, she had just gotten pregnant, and my brother was going to this high school, Washington High School in LA, and his norm was every day fighting, gang fights. And I just knew that there was no way I could do anything in that environment. And so the one thing I tell people that I'm blessed with is that the mistakes of my sisters and my brothers, because I saw things early on and I said, okay, I don't want to be like that. I can't be like that, So I always had that pushing me behind me, but it was still hard when, my family postal workers. And so that was really like, you go to school and, you go get a job at the post office. My grandmother worked at the post office. My uncle worked at the post office. So I thought, okay, I'll go and, take some classes at a local community college. I had a little job at the grocery store when I was in high school. But it was in high school that I really started connecting with teachers who wanted to see past the surface level. Miss Hyde was one of them, and she gave me this journal, and I would usually write my thoughts in the journal and give that journal to her, and she would write back and to me. And then, I started breaking walls down. Mr. Kennard, I'm still great friends with him today. And I looked up to him as a father. I used to call him daddy in high school because that was the connection that I had with him. And them really building those relationships with me then turned into them seeing, okay, you may be loud and, people may think you're ghetto, but you know how to engage yourself in a great debater. You know how to hold yourself up in a nice argument. You're very passionate about what you're talking about. And so they saw these strengths, these assets in me, and they use these assets to then start to put me in situations where I could shine. And so I remember doing the Lion Club speech contest. And here I am, a girl from South Central doing the Lion Club speech contest. I'm like, okay, I graduated from middle school with the most improved. Like I barely graduated from middle school. So here I'm in high school doing this speech contest, and I didn't win, but I think I made it to the district level. And so that right there in itself showed me, okay, maybe I can do something a little different, you know. And so it was those educators who took those assets that they saw in me in the classroom and then start to set me up and put me in more leadership positions, allowed me to just kind of use my strengths, I guess, for the good, if you can say. And then, so now I'm getting ready to go off to college. And the whole college thing is funny because I didn't really plan on like going to college. So like we, all of my friends during our senior year, they are, you know, exploring the different HBCUs and going to college fairs. Nobody in my family had ever gone to college. My uncle took some classes at the local community college, but that was it. And so to me, I didn't really take it serious. I was like, okay, you know, this is just a way for me to get out of LA. I had never been out of LA. And so I was going to the college fairs and different things with them, but my true intentions were not pure. It was just like, okay, just to have fun or just to say that I'm doing something, put up this, you know, this image that I'm doing something. But
which is not completely abnormal.
Right. And so I just knew I was fooling my grandmother and them because my grandmother, she met this man, Maurice Osborne, and I'm friends with him today. She met him on this bus going to Vegas. My grandmother used to like to go to the casinos. And so she met him on this bus trip. And she's from Northeast Louisiana. She was from a small town, Delhi. So she was always into Gramblin's band. And oh Lord, she met a recruiter from Grambling. So she had just told him that I was coming out to Grambling. She was going to send me out there and all this other stuff. And so I took that opportunity. Oh yeah, you gonna let me go out of state on a bus ride with my friends? Bet. But I had no plans of going to Grambling whatsoever. I was just gonna try to get out of the state and go do what I wanted to do, you know? And so, but I get to Grambling and it was really just seeing what I saw that was like, oh my God. To be honest, it was, man, here we are. Like my roommate, her mom was a principal during the orientation, and just seeing college educated Black people. I didn't see that in my community, you know, I didn't see that. And so it showed me, man, I can do this. But connecting it back to my teachers, because they set me up and connected me with other individuals who could also get me prepared when it came time to get into college. And like I said, I'm not going to give all of the credit to my teachers because I can say to my community, like my grit, my hustle, my drive. I mean, being Black and growing up in the inner city, like that defines me. That's who I am. But it was my educators who showed me how to use these assets that I had to do great things. And they put me in situations to shine, that got me there, got me to college, you know, and from there, you know, that's a whole nother book.
Yeah, totally. I'm here for your story. Your story is what intrigued me from the very beginning. And I'm sorry, like I'm getting kind of teary-eyed. I froze. It's just so much in such a short thing of, you know, a short amount of time in your life, but you were able to, you know, with your grit and with the support of your grandmother and your teachers and just the character that you've developed over time. And just like by looking at your siblings and saying, I want more for my life. And I know that you completely abstained from drugs. And I applaud you for that. Like, you're not even going to indulge me with some wine. Like you just are drug free. And I think that's so cool. I mean, I'm just, you know, you're living a good life and you're doing well. And I mean, did you ever imagine that where you are right now is where you would be?
Back in my teenage years, no. Like I said, what I saw in my view of what success looked like was very limited. Now, when I got to college, and when I was 19, I got pregnant with my first son. And that was really because I had two options. So my Uncle Benny said, look, you either come home or you get an abortion, And I'm like, okay, I'm not getting an abortion, and I'm not coming home with the baby and exposing my baby to the same thing that I grew up with. And so from there, it was like, okay, now I got to get it how I live. I got to get out here and I got to make things happen for me and my son. And that's when I really started getting on my grind. I graduated from college on time. I went on to get a graduate degree. And then after that, I entered the teaching profession. But yeah, it was really, really just me taking, bye, Mandy. I saw where you said you have to pop off, but
bye, Mandy.
Thank you. But I have to pop off. And thank you, Alexis, so much for being on here. And it's amazing hearing your story. I absolutely love and adore you so much, as I always tell everyone. So I had to make it on here because I had to see you and
thank you
see your
so much.
So thank you. Have a good day, you guys.
Bye,
you
Mandy.
Too. Yeah, and so I really lost my train of thought, but it was really in college.
Yes, it was your son, and you you graduated on time. You got your life together. Like, oh my gosh, you made something.
I just refuse. Yeah, definitely, and that's one of the things that I want my story to communicate to educators is that what you see right now, like I said, that surface level stuff. Get past that, because if it weren't for educators stopping me, catching me before I fall through the cracks, like Chandra said, catching me, then there's no telling where I would be. Yes, my siblings are a part of my life right now. I have a great relationship with my siblings. People always ask me about my mom, and so my mom has been clean. And she is actually a community organizer. And it's so funny because Real Love plays into her story as well. And so my mom, she went on to college to get an associate's degree. And it was in college where her professors saw her strengths and saw her assets and got her into community organizing and doing community service projects and nonprofit. And so she runs a nonprofit in South Central LA, and it's Community Reflections. My dad, he is in the Nation of Islam, and he too has his way of doing community organizing work as well. So yeah, my siblings, my story would not be my story without their stories, and I make sure that in my dedication to the book that I make that very clear, and not one way, shape, or form am I ashamed of my upbringing, my background, or what I've gone through in life, because I feel like my testimony is not for myself, but it's to bless other people. And then I hope that's what I can do through education and through Real Love and through Twisted Teaching, is just helping educators gain access to the tools and the resources and the knowledge and the pedagogy that they need to apply to their classrooms to help change the educational experiences that students in inner city schools have, especially those who see no way out. Because the one thing I can tell you my teachers did, they made me want to come to school, and I talk about this in the book. I hate driving past schools and seeing kids going the other way. It's like, what are we doing wrong? Kids should want to come to school. And for a lot of kids, which we've seen with COVID, was our schools they're safe havens. I wanted to come to school. I got to a point where I wanted to come to school, and it started off not because of what I was learning, but because I wanted to be around my teachers. They made me feel good. They made me feel validated. They made me feel worthy. My culture, my community was reflected in their classrooms, reflected in their instruction. I always talk about the way I know the quadratic formula. And one of the ways that the quadratic formula has always stuck with me after all these years is Miss Hyde taught it to me through a rap song. And so it's a negative b plus a minus a square root, b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, say hey, quadratic formula. And that stuff stuck with me, And so I'm like, okay, dang, she put herself out there to learn how to write a a formula in a rap song, and that stuck with me, you know. Now, here's the one thing I gotta tell you. Oh, go for it.
Well, I don't want to forget because we have talked about this importance thing, but and I want to say to Andrea, she says, beautiful story. Family is always thicker. Looking forward to reading your story.
Thank
you
you.
Yeah, I totally agree. I tried to love it on the thing, but I couldn't. But what do you say to people who say, well, I'm colorblind? Like they don't feel like they're doing anything wrong. They're not racist. They say that they're colorblind. Is that a way to help students? Can you help your students if you're colorblind?
Here's the thing. And I make this very clear, and if you follow me on social media, you've seen that. If you are colorblind, you are taking the side of the oppressor. Just simple as that. You can't say you're colorblind because when we look at the American education system, it is structured around white dominant norms. Okay. And so when we talk about systemic or institutionalized racism, when we look at those different institutions, the American education system is one of those systems, one of those institutions. Everything that is in the American education system reinforces whiteness as the right way. White way is the right way. So when you
say
go
that
into
again,
a classroom,
white way
the
is
way as the right way. It reinforces that the white way is the right way, right? And so when you're saying you are colorblind and you don't see color, you don't see your students because we are all different colors, right? So how can I say, Melody, that I love you and I'm going to do what's best for you and I'm going to educate you the way you need me to educate you if I don't see you? That's just like saying I'm colorblind, but then I stop at a red light. In order for you to stop at the red light, you had to see the red light, right? So the same thing for our students. In order for me to educate you the way that you need it, I have to see you. I have to validate you. I have to appreciate you, or I'm just going to streamline you into the group of other students who may not need to be educated in love the way you need to be educated in love. And so we got to take down this, oh, I'm colorblind, because our students need to know that we see them, that we're going to educate them, and that we're going to empower them. And you can't do that being colorblind.
God, I have never heard such a passionate response to that, and such a very you just get right to the heart of the matter, and I love that. And exactly like you said, we have to see our students for everything that they are, and color is a huge part. Although it's not the only part, because we still need to get beyond the surface, but it does. We have different experiences in life, and that's a reason why it's so important for us who are especially white teachers that don't have that perspective, like to engage.
Exactly.
And to learn, that our perspective is really, and I didn't really truly understand what white-centered meant until just recently. Like I really didn't understand that to the deep level that it really is, and so it's all coming together even more. And I've been doing this for a few years, but it just is what it is. I mean, it's a learning process. But I love that we talked about that earlier, and that it's a part of your book and a part of your message, because a lot of us say that. We say, well, we're colorblind. We don't see color. And that's where a lot of our mistakes are coming from, but we can change. We can know better, and we can change starting today,
Exactly. And real love will definitely get you on the right path for understanding the importance of seeing color, seeing culture, and seeing community, so that way you can because see, here's the thing about it is when we say, and this is what I mean by colorblind is taking the side of the oppressor, right? Is that the American education system has been very violent and very oppressive to students of color, okay, historically and currently. And so when we say we don't see color, then you are continuing to invoke that oppression onto your students because they do not have the opportunity to thrive. They are, like in the book, Bettina Love, we're trying to do more than just survive. That's what the American Education Society has taught kids of color, how to just mainly survive and exist in a sea of whiteness. And so, like I said, in order to meet those individual learning needs of students of color, you have to see their color first.
But can I just throw this out here, because there may be people who are watching right now or who will watch, and they're white like I am, and they're like, I am not an oppressor, I'm not racist. Like I don't understand the pressure of why I'm turned into the enemy, because I'm not the enemy. Like, I've been trying to do what's right by my kids. So I think that's an attitude that a lot of us have. And I know that I had it for a long time. So how can we, what do you suggest? Like, when someone says, well, I'm not the oppressor, I'm not to blame. What would you suggest for them to see? I mean, is that okay to ask you?
Yeah, that's okay to ask me. And because that's one of the things that we see, oh, I just want to love all of my children. I just want to, but see, here's the thing. When we all, this is what we have to understand about white supremacy culture, right? It's so rooted in our nation that even as a person of color, I can reinforce notions of white supremacy on my students as well, right? And so it's not saying that you yourself, you're a racist, right? Because you want to love all students. But in order for us to tackle this system, we have to first admit that it exists and admit that, okay, in some way, shape, or form, it has been ingrained in me, these biases, these pre-assumptions about individuals and groups of people that I don't know and don't understand have been ingrained in me. And I'm taking that and I am imposing it in my instruction and in my classroom, So like, even though you may not identify as a racist, the system itself is racist. And so we have to call this system, call it what it is, in order to fully address it and fully attack it. But I think that saying that I'm not a racist in itself is, in a sense, like then becoming defensive,
Exactly.
And you can't really be an ally to communities of colors, to students of colors, if you automatically jump on the defense. So in that self, by saying, oh, I'm not a racist, you have to check yourself too,
Yes. And I thank you for saying that. So, and something that I'm also learning is just, it's like we growing up, especially growing up in my culture and, just in the environment that I grew up, we didn't talk about race. We didn't talk about racism. The KKKs, they were the racists, not us. So so if we could just get past the defense that we have when we hear the words white people or racism, it's talking about the limitations that we put on other people because of how we see race. And that's what a racist is. It's not like I am a good person and I fear God and I love humanity, but I have racist tendencies. And I had to get to a point where I could admit that and so that I could dig that out of me, because I don't want to be that. And so anti-racism for us is finding those areas like you have been talking about, those biases that we have. Why do we have so many children of color being suspended in detention? Why are they getting the brunt of the discipline and punishment in our schools and then being sent to, it's like, we have to dig that deep. I didn't mean to
No, you're fine. One of the things that How to Be an Anti-Racist, in his book, Kendi talks about, what people need to understand about racism is the power, and the power that it gives a certain group of people, right? And so sometimes you can say, I'm not racist, but you're reinforcing a racist policy or you're reinforcing something that a certain group of people are going to be at a disadvantage because of. And so we need to look at those systems of power that are in place and how they are keeping a certain group of people in power and a certain group of people oppressed. And so I think that if we start to look at racism through the lens of who has the power and why do they have the power, then it's easier for us to dismantle it without taking it so personal,
Right. But we do need to take it personal. We need to be broken because of it. Our society is going to deal with this until we all stand together. And I'm talking about the culture that is in the power. Us white people.
Exactly.
No, sorry, I froze.
Yes.
We literally have to be together on this. And that's why I think, getting through that defense of being called a white person, which I think is kind of funny when when you think about the historical part of that. It's like, why are we getting so defensive about being called white people? And looking at our role in society, and please, as educators, and the way that we teach, and the way that we are forming the minds of all of our kids, especially our students of color. I mean, this is a responsibility that we have to make change. And I couldn't be, I love being an educator and being able to help others see that. And I thank God that he has transformed me. I know a lot of people think that once you decide to be anti-racist, like you're on some liberal agenda, but really it's a transformation that I feel from my spirit, from my faith, you know?
You know what? But here's the thing. You can't call yourself a Christian conservative because God hates racism. Just
right.
Simple as that.
Right.
God hates racism. Right.
Right.
So,
and who better, you and I agree, who better to unify us and bring us together? So, but
exactly.
We have about 10 more minutes. So I want to ask you a couple of questions. One of them is what can parents and students, so like if you're not an educator and you want to buy Real Love, can it help you? Like, can it help parents? Can it help students?
Definitely it can help parents and students. And one of the reasons why I say that it can help parents is because parents need to know how to advocate for their students, right? Yes. And that is one of the things that Real Love talks about also, is how do we build these bridges? How do we connect with our classroom? I share some of my experiences as a parent, and actually in the group, one of my son's former teachers was here. And so in order for us to fully advocate for our students' needs, our children's needs, we need to know their needs. Culturally relevant, culturally responsive, culturally sustaining pedagogy, that is not just exclusive to educators, that's exclusive to parents as well, because parents need to know, okay, my child learns this, my child needs this. Parents need to, one of the things with culturally relevant teaching is that it brings parents into the classroom and connects the classrooms and the communities together, which a lot of educators kind of often overlook. And so how can we bring our parents into our classrooms and bring our parents into our schools, not just to make copies or, host a PTA event, but how can we get them in there and use their assets and their skills and that rich knowledge that they have to help us with our instruction and changing the culture of our campus and our school. And then for students, I want students to look at my story and read my story and see what is it. They may not be fighting a parent or raised by a parent who's on drugs or in jail, but they may have a parent who's an alcoholic. They may have a parent who is physically abusive or emotionally abusive. You can overcome that, tap into your schools, make connections with your teachers, find those resources. And so I just want to send that message that even when you see no way out, there is a way out.
Oh gosh. I just want to say, I mean, I've had goosebumps for like 10 minutes straight. And for the parents, something that you and I both believe so much is that bringing in parents and giving them their voice also heals the trauma that some of those people,
yes.
some of them faced when they were going through the school system.
Yeah, we also have to look at how violent and oppressive our schools are to parents. I just think about it, and then this would take us down another rabbit hole of a conversation, but I think about, the debates over some parents wearing leggings to school, or parents wearing bonnets to school when they're coming up there to check on their child. Right there, that's rooted in white dominant respectability. And so if schools got to know more about their community and the people that they were serving, I could come to schools with a bonnet in my head and you'll see that you're making a misjudgment about me and my character because the bonnet says nothing about me, So that's one of the things that I want everybody to get from Real Love, is that get past that surface level stuff and start really digging deep into who we're serving. Geneva Gay, Ladson Billings, they all say you cannot teach what or who you don't know. And we have to start knowing who we're serving.
I gotta say, I think the greatest thing that a lot of us teachers could do for professional development this summer is to get your book. And also, just because I am an EduMatch employee, I just want to put this out there that if you buy in bulk, I just froze. But if you buy this book and save you can save it. I just totally messed that up. I'm so excited. Let me rephrase that. If you, I represent EduMatch right now. If you buy this book in bulk, you can save money. And I just feel like, and I'm not putting this out there because we are not greedy people here at EduMatch. We literally amplify the voices of those who have especially been marginalized. Okay. And so I think this summer is a great time to stop and think about how can we contribute and be better for the next school year. And this book, as a professional development, whether it's in a small group with your friends or with your school, would be an excellent thing to do. And if you need help with that, just drop me a line. I can help you with that. Linnell says, when is the book study? And I'm telling you, I'm going to order my book. And we can begin a book study immediately, Linnell.
Well, actually, I am in the process of turning Real Love. So last summer, I did 2 pop-up workshops. And the pop-up workshop, one day was devoted to breaking down the concept of real, dealing with that mindset first and attacking those biases, and talking about building relationships. And so one session was devoted to real, and the second session was devoted to love. And so since I could not do my pop-up workshops this summer, I am in the process of turning Real Love into an online course, a self-paced online course. If you're in the state of Texas, you will be able to get your CPE hours. So that is coming. And then I'm looking at launching that online course about July 18th. So it'll be about a month out from the book. And then I'm also looking at turning the book into a book study. Real Love is a professional development where, like I said, my whole goal is to transform the educational experiences and opportunities students have in inner city schools. And so if you have a campus and you're looking for a professional development, whether it be virtual or face-to-face, please reach out to me. I am Twisted Teaching, twistedteaching@gmail.com. I'm Twisted Teacher on Twitter, and I would love to come to your campus and host a professional development. And Real Love is just one of the many professional development opportunities that I provide. And then I am currently in the process with 3 other dynamic, beautiful, educated, strong Black women. We have created a color-coded community, and the color-coded community is for equity-minded educators. And so the way our color-coded community works is we tackle and all of us, we have backgrounds in education and multicultural education, urban education, and culturally responsive teaching with technology. And we all do consultant work, and we all have experience in the classroom, but we've created this amazing community. And in this community, educators can find the resources, the support, and the community that they need to create equitable spaces. And so if you are interested in joining that community, I'll drop it in the chat, but it is colorcodededu.com. We are opening the community up in about 1 week. And so I would be excited to have you guys join us in that community as well. So yeah.
And I just want to say, I want to say for color coded, so I am in your group of, what do we call it? Our testers.
Focus group, our testers.
Focus group, yes. And I got to say, for all the people like me who are white and really, really want to dig deep and do better and make changes, this is for you. This is not just for people of color. This is especially for us. And it's a safe place. There's no condemnation. I have spoke some truth that I did not want to put out there, but I had to because I had to address it. And I was not met with anger or anything, but just support and just a willingness to help grow me. So I want to put that out there. But also, Alexis, you and I are also part of a summit that's coming up next month.
Yes.
And tell us, and I want you to drop all of your links so people can follow you. But go ahead.
Yes, so I am presenting at the Rethink Learning Summit, and I am presenting on where my mama at, bro. And so when you watch the presentation, when you view my presentation, it all makes sense. But it talks about the critical connection between building our cultural competencies and community and school success. And so, yes, please, I will drop my link to my presentation or to the summit and to the chat, because I'd love to see you there as well.
Yes.
So yeah, big things.
Big things. I am so proud. I'm so proud to be your friend. And I just love, and we worked in the same district, but we did not meet until I moved to Alaska. So
yes. And thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been great, and I just want to thank you. I think part of this was just having a courageous conversation about, and I wish that we could have more dialogue. So if you ever want to do this again, please let's just continue this. We can invite other people. I froze, but this is how we create change. I'm so proud of you for your book that's going to be released on Thursday, and you have the color coded community app that you are creating that's going to come out in another week. You have
yes.
a summit that you're going to be a part of that people can listen to you. You have a professional development that you're going to put out next month. You've got so many things coming up. And I just hope that many people will take advantage of these learning experiences.
Yes. Yes.
So bravo to you.
Bravo. Yes. Like I said, follow me on Facebook. I am Twisted Teaching on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Twisted Teaching on Twitter, Twisted Teaching, but it's TWSTED Teaching. So yes, please follow me. Please connect with me. I look forward to connecting you. Like I said, to change this world, it's going to start in our classrooms, in our schools, and it's going to start with us working together. Yes, and thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and thanks to everybody for joining. It was so amazing to hear your comments. I hope you're done with lunch.
I'm going to get a snow cone.
All right. Well, I will sign us off. Bye, everybody. Thank you again, and congratulations.
Thank you. Bye-bye.